Well, hey guys. Well, it's Labor Day today, and Eric had to go to work. I did not. He left me unattended in the shop, and I meant to come out here and clean. But I got started cleaning out a couple drawers, and I found this little silhouette of a piggy that I had cut out. It's been 3 or 4 years ago, and I made a cutting board, cut that out for the handle, and I thought, I've been watching these sign making videos where they route everything out, and I wanted to give it a try. So, grab me a piece of walnut. Let's see what I can do. All right, so I'm gonna put our little piggy in here. I'm gonna use Eric's white marking pen because it's kind of hard to see on walnut. Hopefully I've got him even, and yeah. If not, I guess we'll fix it later. Main thing here is just testing out to see if I can do this. We may not get all the fine detail here, but we'll get the gist of it. All right, that looks good enough. Surely I can follow that line. All right, let's see what we can do. Not got my bit out there very far, so I'm just going to start with light passes. It's hard to see my lines. Did I mention it's really dirty job here? Well, I've got at least the outline done. It ain't perfect, but like I said, we got to start somewhere. So I'm probably going to go through, make the outline just a little bit bigger. And I'm going to change out my bits and so we can We'll probably go ahead and get the feet and the ears and the snout out with the smaller bit. And then we'll change out a bit and get a little bit bigger one. I think I need to clean up just a little bit. Clean off some of this dust. Clean off my glasses. But you know what? Pretty comfortable with that little bit on there. I think I'm going to stick with it instead of changing out. You just take a little bit more smaller passes, but like I said, when you're comfortable with something, stick with it. I think I ran the battery dead. Well, it was time to get cleaned up anyway. Whew, so close to being done. Look at that. Just barely any left. All right, I'm gonna go in, finish that little spot, touch up my lines here a little bit, and I should be done with the router. I think that's deep enough. We don't need to dig it out real deep. And then we'll sand it up and put some epoxy in it. I got my battery changed. We're ready to go. I think I'm just going to get some 60 grit sandpaper. And just do a little bit of that by hand. And we're going to pour some epoxy in there. I have a small piece of 80 grit here, so we're going to use that. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just want to clean it up a bit. Get around the edges. I know I don't have the lines perfectly there, but they were kind of thick lines anyway, so. Got some little fuzzies down here in the corner. See if I can get that worked out. I think that's good enough. I'm gonna get him over the air compressor and get all rid of, well, need to work on that tail just a little bit there. I got some fuzzies up there in the corner. There we go. Well, all right. I'm gonna grab the sand air compressor. We'll get that blowed out. All right. Got my epoxy mixed up here. So I always seem to never pick the right colors, according to Eric. And he just says make something different when I asked him what color to make it. And so I was like, I need another opinion. So I text Lisa. Lisa didn't answer. So I text Jessie. She says, well, pink, duh. So we're gonna go with Let's Resin. And it's just pink. So we're gonna make us a pink piggy here. Of course, now that I get it, it looks like I did not put enough resin or mica powder in. Eric always says I never put enough, so I may as well go ahead now and put some more in. I know he'd probably tell me just a little bit more. Okay, that should do it. And of course, I've got me a coaster here because I made too much resin, but I did it on purpose because craft show season's coming up. Coasters sell good. So I always try to make one whatever color I'm working with. So I get an abundance of different colors. All right, let's get this poured in. Thought I had it all blowed out. Okay. And if I go over the side a little bit, that's fine because it's going to be sanded anyway. Get the little tail. Oh, and I went over on the side, of course. All right. And we're just going to pour the rest of this in our coaster mold. See if we can't put just a few more drips in here because it's going to sink a little bit. And the more it does, the more I have to sand. All right. Now, move this here so I can stir that a little bit. We watch for some air bubbles. Swirl it around a little here. I don't know. Should I swirl the pig? Why not? I think he's actually going to turn out pretty cute. Pretty glad I come across that little template that I'd made. So Eric got home from work and he did kind of agree that the board was kind of thick, so he's going to resaw it down on the bandsaw. And I'll have another board to carve out. So I finally made it back out to the shop today. Of course, yesterday, without recording, I started sanding a little bit on my pig. But I think it'd be easier. I'm going to hand it off to Eric, and he's going to run it through the drum sander. Probably I'll put my hair up, though. So I got my little piggy here. We've run him through the drum sander. And I'm going to start out. We're going to do sticking together. 120, 180, 220, and 240. We'll see how that is and we'll go from there. But I'm not going to bore you with all the sanding because it's sanding, y'all. So we're going to have to pardon the noise. Eric's still running on the drum sander. But I wanted to show you all different grain in here while I pop the grain. I think he's going to look pretty cute. Look how pretty he is. And that grain's really pretty too. There. Turned out way better than I expected he would. Alright, so we're going to let him dry. Stick a couple of these under here. Alright, so we raised the grain. And I put on my 240 sandpaper, which, like I said, this was just a tester. I wasn't even planning on making a video. I was going to do a members only video, and it turned out cuter than I thought. So, but as it's been my first one, I have seen my mistakes and know what to fix next time. As I've sanded down and everything, you can see the grain. So my epoxy is not very thick at all. So next time I think I will route down just a little bit deeper. But hey, you learn by doing. So let's sand him down. And we're going to put some oil on it and see how that grain looks, because I think that's going to be really pretty. We got her all sanded down. Here comes the fun part. I'm going to put on a little bit of mineral oil. I'm going to see how that grain and everything looks.
Ooh, doggies.
No, yeah. Ooh, piggies.
Oh, it's only one pig.
Well, ooh, piggy. I did pretty good out of just grabbing a scrap board out of the scrap bin, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to leave this set overnight. We don't need to leave it on the epoxy. It needs to be on the wood. But we're going to let this set overnight. You pretty much know what it's going to look like when I do the other side, so we're going to call it a night. I decided, might later put some handles and some feet on it, make it a little, like a bacon serving tray.
Yep.
Or I might just leave it the way it is. I don't know.
The way that grain's going, I could really make some jokes. See if anybody else catches what my juvenile mind.
That it is. He's awful cute, though. How did I do for my first time? Is it worth trying again? Leave me a comment. Maybe like, subscribe. Come back, see what we get into next time. Night, y'all.
Bye-bye now.